So a pretty frequent question that a lot of people come up to me and ask me at work is, how do I get started with vlogging, or what type of camera do I need to shoot good content? To be honest, the question that I kind of give them is, well, what type of phone do you have? And so this video is kind of just gonna go over the Pixel 7 and what it's capable of doing for video. And so we're gonna go through a few different things. I'm gonna rotate through the different types of lighting with the main and the selfie camera, go outside and actually show you what it's like whenever that you're walking around, having a bit of wind, noise around you and whatnot. And we'll see what this camera is actually able to produce. All right, and so this is going to be the main camera on the Pixel 7. Now this is not the Pro, please keep that in mind. Now some really quick notes as far as for the settings that I have it set to. So this is at 4K, this is at 30 FPS. This is with the HDR on and with the speech enhancement off. Now, a couple of other things to keep in mind as well is that I actually have the room fairly well lit. I do have a little bit of backlighting to me. I have a small key light over there, and then I have practically all the rest of the lights in the apartment on. So this is going to be arguably one of your best case scenarios, with the exception of actually being outside with the sun. And now to give you just even a little bit more perspective, this is going to be with me holding the actual Pixel 7. So just for reference, I'll swap hands. I'm holding it just around the body of the camera, and this isn't full arm's length away, just to make it comfortable, like actually holding it. And so if maybe you had it on a little tripod and you were walking around with it or something like that, this is arguably about how far that you would probably have it, unless that of course you have a selfie stick, if you're still into that kind of thing. But so I'll walk around just a little bit just so that you can kind of get an idea in the apartment of, if you're going to be walking around, you have a little bit of changes of light and things like that. Go ahead and walk down the stairs as well, and then once I get down here, I will actually turn off the light so that you can actually have that for perspective, going from a fairly dim scenario into a brighter one and seeing how that goes. So let's go ahead and flip the light, and now it is pretty dark down here, so I do not expect this to look good, but as we go back up the stairs, it should brighten back up and we can give you a bit more perspective once you get into moderate lighting, or if you're in a more dimly lit space, whatever that may be, at least you'll have an idea of what you can kind of expect. And so now with the exact same lighting, we have moved on to the front facing, or better known as the selfie camera. Now, do I necessarily advise using this? Not in particular. There are a couple of benefits though, in the sense of you can have just a much closer proximity to yourself. And so whenever that you're talking about audio, I actually feel like I'm talking a little bit loud. I'm trying to actually make sure that I talk at still a comfortable volume into the camera. But as you can tell, of course, behind me, especially for everything, I can already see it, there is a lot of noise on this thing. And so if you are in a more well-lit area, then of course things should be pretty decent. So we'll move under the brightest kind of lights that I have, which are funny enough in the kitchen. Now, to give you a little bit better perspective for what I did earlier, I'm gonna walk back down the stairs and you will drastically be able to tell the difference on this once we actually flip the light switch. So I was actually a little bit more impressed from the rear camera when I actually turned off the lights. Actually, it still didn't look too bad, but yeah, let's turn this off real quick. And I don't know what's happened to us, but we have teleported into the PlayStation 2. Our graphics have degraded greatly, and yeah, really can't advise you using this in lower light if you're wanting to have something of decent quality. Don't overanalyze it too much. In all honesty, I think that having a moderate picture is better than having no picture, to be honest. But if you're in that type of scenario where you're moving into lower light, if you can, try to get used to using the rear camera, and probably just do that if you can expect that type of scenario. All right, and now we are time skipping all the way to 1 o'clock in the afternoon compared to me filming at ungodly hours of the night. And this is going to be an example of, if you have something like a window open, you're filming right in the middle of the day. If you have pretty good lighting, what you can expect out of the Pixel 7's main camera if you were to want to record. Now, something that I believe I had noticed whenever I was doing a video for myself is, depending on how you actually kind of have the camera set up, it can still be a little noisy, even though you have really bright lighting. But if you're indoors and you kind of have that contrast of very bright to what I would say is still good but moderate lighting indoors, it still might not come out in the most clear fashion. All right, Now we have jumped to being at the park. We are on the front-facing or selfie camera, and this is still at 4K, 30 FPS, HDR on. Now this is not with the speech enhancement on, so this is without the speech enhancement, and there is a moderate amount of breeze kind of coming through right now, especially while we're walking for everything. This isn't full arm's length, so this is at a little bit comfortable bend in the hand, just in case you're going to walk around like this, try to have a video call with somebody, whoever that it may be that you're talking to. And so let's go ahead and turn the speech enhancement off, or on rather, real quick, and see if that makes a huge difference. And now the speech enhancement is on. The wind died down a little bit, so we'll see if you can tell a huge difference. It was a little bit windier earlier, but we'll make our way over here to another section that should pick up a little bit more. So I do want to swap to the main camera. I actually brought this little tripod that I'll hold it on right here, clamp the phone onto it, and then we'll swing it around, have it actually in landscape mode, and walk around. We'll of course have to take our best guess as far as for how high up we kind of have to hold it, but I feel that that's probably a little bit more comfortable than having your hand around the phone and kind of just holding it like this for prolonged periods of time, whereas in comparison you can just hold it like this and should be a lot more comfortable. Hold it out at a reasonable angle. You can angle it a little bit more and whatnot. So we'll head up over to this bridge, come back over, kind of go into the shadows, and then I think pretty much we should be done with giving you the full roundabout test for what this camera is capable of. So to start this off, now I have it on the tripod, so I'm able to put it out a little bit further in front of me. I am on this really small bridge. I mean, I could probably jump down this and only break probably one of my bones. But for reference, I wanted to walk into the sun, since the sun's a little bit closer in front of me over here, just so that you can kind of see what the exposure would be like, especially with the speech enhancement on. It is still on right now. So I'll probably encourage you to do that if you are going to be walking around and recording or doing anything like that. So let's go ahead and just turn around, and now we'll see how well it's still able to focus in on us, especially with the sun potentially in view for us. I have no reference to see if it's actually focusing on me, how well everything's kind of doing, just because obviously I can't actually see myself. I can only see the back of the camera and hope that I'm actually positioning this appropriately. But I think that that's another part of using cameras in this way, right? Is that if you only have your phone, you don't want to spend a few $100s to be able to get something with a bigger sensor, with an articulating screen that actually turns around and whatnot. This is kind of your best case scenario, which obviously if you have really high-end flagship phone, I think that you can get used to this. You just have to get comfortable with knowing, hey, my camera is already recording. I don't have to always look at myself. It's actually probably a little bit better if I do look into the camera consistently in comparison to watching the screen of myself. And you should be able to still do pretty good content with something like this. And so we're hitting a little bit of the shade right here in the trees, but I think that pretty much wraps up everything that I would want to show you. Yes, one other thing that I actually almost forgot to actually throw in here is that if you are actually unsatisfied with the quality of the audio straight from the camera and you want to keep it at a moderate distance to be able to do some sort of tripod shooting, just invest in like a lavalier mic. If I remember correctly, I got this with a mini tripod. The camera attachment that I have, as well as this, for like $100. So arguably you could say that this is a $50 lav, and most people actually just go ahead and they clip it onto themselves. In this scenario, of course, you do have the wire running down, but I can tell you, and I promise you, you're going to have to kind of believe me for this from my years of video editing as well as all of the stuff that I watch. Nobody, and I legitimately mean nobody, is going to comment and be like, oh my god, look at this wire that you have running through the video or anything like that. Nobody's going to care as long as that you're entertaining. The most important thing is going to be you, yourself, actually having something that you can record it, as well as actually making sure that it sounds somewhat decent in comparison to actually making sure that it's aesthetically the most clean thing around. And this is a new channel, so please make sure that you subscribe, leave a like, and if you are so inclined, also leave a comment as well. That's gonna do it for today. I've been Straight. You guys have been great. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.